Welcome, everyone. This is The Ends Justify the Memes, the show where the lowest of the low, that is, the most wretched of wretched and deplorable to end all deplorables, two white heterosexual males from the American South talk about culture, philosophy, history, health, fitness, and what it means to be a man in the 21st century. I'll be your host, Bill, and this is my producer and co host, Tank. So crack open a beer. Oh, geez, can I get a crack? Yeah. And lend us your ear because the ends always justify the memes. We drinking Tank. That looks like some Sierra Nevada voodoo. Is it dark? Oh, it's celebration. Yeah. It's like a Christmas beer. Yeah. I got some straight, good old West Virginian, local brewed, big timber. This is a big old coffee porter. It's 8% or so. Let's hope I get through the stream. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us. We have some viewers today, which we don't always have. So any questions you might have, we'll try to get to, as we don't always have viewers when we go live. We're a small show. We're starting off. It's the way it goes. But we do plan to talk about some of the election stuff tonight. Basically, if Trump has any chance of victory and the Great Reset, which is the biggest thing. But before we get to all that, let's do some real fake news. First meme. It says, "Does anyone have any spare conspiracy theories? Mine have all come true." And I can relate to this because yes, I almost feel like having the yes guy there, right behind that. Yes. And then this one, the next one, is a little gribble for you and a little salt. Getting a little salty on the left. Says, "When your conspiracy theories turn out to be true." Boom. A little salt bit. How so? Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in some crazy stuff like the one viewer we had when we had Kizzle on the second time, and he was trying to tell me that Trump was just a shill and all this stuff, and it's like it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense considering everything they are doing to stop him. You know, and I think the impropriety in this election has vindicated that viewpoint of mine. Anyway, so the next one says, "You the lie you participate in today becomes the future you live in tomorrow." Which is why when I went to Walmart today, I did not wear a mask because I'm a rebel. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Guys, whatever you do, if you send us lemons or whatever, make sure that they're for me and not for Tank. I do all this pregame, all this prep. He just has to show up and run things, and what happens? Yeah. For the real fake news here, it says we may need climate lockdowns to halt climate change. Marina Mazzucato, whatever the hell her name is, writes that might mean governments limiting private vehicle use, banning consumption of red meat, etc., etc. We must do capitalism differently to avoid that. Climate crisis equals genocidal rhetoric. Being vindicated sucks sometimes. But yeah, that's really what we're looking at here as far as what's that? Well, I was just saying that's really what we're looking at here as far as these the idea of the great reset and the global takeover and all this other stuff. And then we have your new emperor, Klaus Schwab. Who the hell wears something like that? I mean, he literally looks like he's going to like a Star Wars convention or something. Yeah. And now we have, yeah, we got Soros. Have you enjoyed your 11-month free trial of the New World Order? Your lifetime subscription be starting soon. I don't think I drank enough beer to be stumbling over my words yet, but and then Professor X is next, trying to figure out how an unvaccinated person can give a disease to a vaccinated person if vaccines work. And yes, Fauci sitting there now talking about wearing masks after you're vaccinated. Yeah, I mean, there's something going on. Oh, somebody the comments says Gladia Radner said that Trump should make his own party. That's probably a good call. It's about getting the neocons out. Yeah, you'd be surprised though when you talk to people working within the party that are youthful and more on the libertarian type side. I don't mean the libertarian big L party side. I mean, you know, civil rights and freedom and sound economics and anti-war, which is the big thing. That's probably the best thing that Trump's done. Um, so anyways, here we have Beetlejuice, Lori Lightfoot herself. It says, "Oh Lord, we give thee thanks," and then you're all under arrest. Yes, yes, but let's not forget Joe Biden also gave a speech with a mask on, and when he went to cough, pulled it down and coughed in his hand. That was a little bit more. But yeah, Gavin Newsom got caught here recently attending something. Like these people aren't serious; they just want to control you, and it's the way it's always been. So here we have Thanksgiving dinner. We've been told that only 6 people are allowed to meet for Thanksgiving, but 30 for a funeral. With this, I announced that we will be holding a funeral for a pet turkey that will pass away on November 26th. Refreshments provided in lieu of flowers. Please bring a side of dessert or dessert. Sorry. I look, man. I mean, my thing is go along to get along. Yeah, but I got kind of sick of this stuff a while back. Um, I see so many people violate just basic things like the mask mandates, and I'm like, screw it. I usually have one with me. Like if someone's gonna flip out, I'm not trying to like pull out my gat or something and get into a conflict with somebody over a freaking mask. But I just don't see the point in doing it. And honestly, I'm not telling anyone to lie to anybody, but if you just tell people that you've already had it, you might be all right. I mean, so but yeah, here we have another little Thanksgiving meme saying, "We know you brought a turkey that feeds 12 to 15." Um, and then I like this from the Inglorious Bastards. Says, "You're hiding a gathering of more than 10 people under your floorboards, aren't you?" And what's funny is we all know, any sober-minded individual knows that all these people that scream Nazi, fascism, whatever else that they scream, are the same people that are telling on everyone. They're the Karens. They're the ones who gave up Anne Frank. There there's a picture of the guy, you have everyone giving the Roman salute and the, Hitler speech or whatever it was, and there's the picture of the guy who's not the one, he's got his arms crossed, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's me," and it's like, "No, you're giving the Roman salute, trust me. You're out there Highland Hitler." There's no doubt in my mind about that. And it says, "So you're trying to tell me that Trump is a Nazi, but you're going to lock me in my house, take my guns, and censor what I say?" And of course, old Biden says, "Bingo." And on top of that, guys, on top of that, of course, we will escalate in Syria. I promise you that will happen if Biden ends up being the president. Um, I think Trump's trying to get the troops out of Afghanistan now, uh, and that's why he's done all these changes within the Pentagon. And with that, very likely before the end of the year, before the end of his term, he can get that accomplished. And like I said, though, with that, you'll see a Biden presidency just turn around and put him back in there. Yeah. Hey, Tank, could you get our we don't really ever promote it, but we do have a Discord server, folks. If you guys one commenting said that they wish they made that one as far as meme goes. The memes go. If anyone has dank memes they would like to send our way that we could potentially use for the show, you get a chance if you can link that server in the chat there, Tank. Um, so yeah, how white liberals think fascism works. I would go beyond white liberals and just say leftists right now, except for the extreme ones, such as the Antifa types. But it says you're finished. No, please. You're on a list now. No. All right. My thing is, I'm not really sure where to get the link from. Yeah, I can maybe do it after the show or be prepared next time. So this was just something random I came across, but I guess it's an older political cartoon. But everyone else who's tried this has gotten hurt. Socialism, the economy. Everyone else did it the wrong way. And then we got radicals in the streets, colonized in the sheets. Yeah. I never understood the colonizer slur argument when um the whole point of Marxism, Leninism, and Stalinism is to colonize the world with communism. Like, so what are you saying? I don't understand your criticism when you actually go for that goal. Um, I think true freedom, true liberty, in the classical sense, in which I appreciate it, is about being a good example. And this is tiny on screen, but oh well. It says, "I'm on the side of decency and basic human rights." He says, "Ah, you had me worried there for a second," with a gun to his head on the shooting block, right? Oh yeah. And this was just, when else was I ever going to use this? It says you're stuck on a desert island and you can only take one thing with you: statist. Because who will build the roads? Like, I've never even seen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, this one got doubled up because it was just too good. And this is the first thing. I don't get many internet arguments anymore, but this is certainly one of the first arguments I'd always throw at people. It's like, you're just a hypocrite. You're sitting here talking about a system that you profit off of. And they go, no, we live under capitalism. We can't stop consuming capitalist products. And then you have the based Orthodox clergymen here saying, yes, you can. Oh, Shu's gotten very, very left. Oh, yeah, yeah. I actually don't really watch her anymore, and I used to really enjoy her. June's actually pretty funny for a chick. Um, um, and then the same meme, but now it's just an Amish dude. Uh, yeah. Well, I don't know much about Orthodox clergy, but I thought they basically lived pretty simple, basic lives, right? I mean, did you say the Amish or? Oh, okay. 'Cause no, I was reading the comment. They were talking about Amish, so I was like, I didn't quite hear that. Yeah, yeah. You guys got Amish in your area? I mean, I grew up. Yeah, I thought they were mostly out west or in Pennsylvania though, because I grew up basically all around Amish country. Lots of Mennonites and lots of Amish. Um, yeah. Yeah, well, the thing is, as far as communists go, they seem to think that materialism is the solution to happiness or something, and of course, they're all horribly miserable people. So, and a lot of them are actually wealthy, which is weird to me. They may not be extremely wealthy, but they're quite often wealthy. Oh, so we have Sour Patch Libs. First they're sour, then they're sweet. Racist! You're a Nazi! You hate immigrants, fascist, white supremacist, racist! It's time to heal and work together. And put you on a list. Make sure you get on that list. Joe Biden's your typical conservative neoliberal. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, make no mistake. But let's look at him compared to Donald Trump. I've always said Donald Trump is essentially Bill Clinton with with the attitude of Teddy Roosevelt, just not as tough as Teddy, because Teddy was a tough dude. Um, dude got shot and then gave a speech. It was like, my speech protected. I can't read the speech because the bullet got stuck in it. I was like, that literally happened. Um, and mind you, he became the president because the president before him was assassinated. So, um, but no, Biden's just a neo-lib. But the thing is that the neo-libs, they don't care about Americans, right? When the Constitution was founded, a representative represented about 35,000 people or so. I think it's like 750,000 now or something ridiculous. That's insane. Like in as far as him being a senator or whatever, he never did anything other than the crime bill and all that stuff, right? We know about all that. But he had no wealth either. And then all of a sudden, as the vice president, I guess basically because he had nothing to do, he was able to enrich himself through through his name. But yeah, this. This was great. It says, Mueller found no collusion, Dad. It says, we're Democrats. We'll find another lie. And I've told you, please call me mom. All right. So then we got when Democrats don't get their way, they get dangerous. I'm not a fan of Lincoln either, regardless. But yeah, I completely agree. Should have let the South go, and slavery would have resolved for sure. I think due to the economic slavery is just not economically prosperous. We'll put it that way. Um, so yeah, we have before and after voting, or sorry, not voting for Joe Biden. It has consequences. Oh, we'll be fine. Trust me, I have much spicier stuff that I do avoid. They didn't censor Hunter though. Just Twitter. YouTube didn't censor. I do feel like I was being suppressed though, because my all minus one folks, if you aren't aware, is my singular YouTube channel. We do this as a live show, separate channel. Replays are over at the ends justify the memes on YouTube. Um, we're probably going to start streaming there live though. I keep saying that every week, but Tank's been busy to get that set up. So, um, but I'm more than certain I was being suppressed for a little bit, even though my channel is tiny. Because I didn't have any growth at all for a bit, and then all of a sudden I got a little bit of growth here recently, right after the election. Yeah, as Jesse Lee Peterson would say, amazing. Right? All right, concede no. He should go, man. He should go all the way December 14th, whatever it is. Maybe the electorates don't certify. Maybe it goes to delegations. Even if he loses, he should never concede. He should never say you won fair and square. Seriously, I wouldn't. Well, I mean, he can be like, he can do this. He can say like, you guys rigged this. I obviously have to leave because of the legalities, but we all know I didn't lose this election. Therefore, I concede nothing. So this is Dominion voting. Red goes in and blue comes out. Yeah, Pocahontas. She had a problem. Yeah. Several people. Who was the other one? Was it Klobuchar? Can't remember if it was her. Yeah. So yeah, there's problems with it. It was used for Maduro in Venezuela for you know um I mean there's socialists, so they have a perfect utopia there, and everything's fine and everyone is very well and healthy and no one starves to death. They're just at a better, healthier weight. Um but, no, the whole thing here too is we are right, right, right. We are we're finding votes left and right here in multiple counties over and over, and the margins are very, very slim. And I don't care if this is a matter of the actual votes. If Trump just puts up the fight until it has to go to the court, to the Supreme Court, or it has to go to delegations, and the delegations probably will. As far as I understand, most of Michigan, I might be wrong about this, but most of Michigan's legislature is is red. That's why they're going to impeach Whitmer here. You know? Now, if they get her out, that's another issue. But um, this is this is awesome as far as I'm concerned. It's actually kind of exciting because it's not. It's like Trump. They can get on him about like him being nasty and all. It's like you guys were the ones who were nasty first. Because I guarantee you, if you kiss Trump's butt, he will be the nicest guy on earth to you. But you don't do that, and therefore you get the mean guy, the orange man bad guy. But he's been a little bit more chill this past year, and things have gotten better. And I think because he had impeachment looming under him for a long time, he just didn't feel like he could do stuff. He felt like I kind of I'm starting to believe that he felt like he had to take in like these deep state people like Bolton, in order to make other people happy. And then when he realized that stuff wasn't going to work, he just said, "Screw it." And now, hey, if he doesn't win, why not go balls to the wall? I mean, let's say January 1st, he pardons Snowden and Assange. That would be, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that brings me to this meme I'm finally reading. It says, "It's always dankest before the dawn." Yes. Speaking of white pills, let's look at Jack here from Twitter. It says this was off the hook, the Twitter memes. It says Twitter stands for freedom of expression. We stand for speaking truth to power, and we stand for empowering dialogue. This claim about freedom of expression is disputed. Well, remember they fired him and then hired him back on, and he doesn't have that much control over the company. He's just a face, and there's just too much. There's just too much, man. Veritas, all that stuff that's uncovered things. Dr. Robert Epstein, who testified before Congress about the ability to swing elections through Google, Facebook, and all this other stuff. There's just way too much evidence. And look, man, the reality is that we have an inept government. They only care about their own power. Not all of them, but I'd say a vast majority of them are those who actually have power. So here we have Winston Churchill. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the land, on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets, and we shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And then Facebook fact checks. Germany is the projected winner of the Second World War. See the results of the Battle of France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And then lastly, but not least, Donald Trump's latest tweet. Doing your mom. Officially, or sorry, official sources called this based. It's November 69, 420 as well on that. Twitter from Epstein's cell phone. That's funny. All right, man. Memecast news. Um, I am just looking through this. I mean, they're just kind of commenting, laughing. If you want to comment in the chat, I got. I mean, obviously, I'm watching. One person just left, I guess, because it says only. Yeah. Um, but hell, what we've been at this for what a couple weeks. We're like couple months, at most. So whatever. We're low tech, high speed, low drag. All right. So tonight, like I said, we want to talk a little bit about this election stuff, which we already kind of have with the memes, and we're also going to talk about the Great Reset because, look, guys, I'm pretty white pilled. I think that there is a good chance that Trump will pull this out, only because somehow he tends to do incredible, crazy stuff. But not because I'm a super MAGA supporter. I never have been. I just think that the president is not part of this globalist agenda, and therefore I support him. I think the president wants to help the people of America, and I don't feel that most politicians that run for president really want that. So I don't know, Tank. What do you got on your feelings about this election? Yeah, I mean, life moves on. I can hear you. You haven't been talking this whole time. All right, you guys should have told us that earlier. I thought you would have realized I wasn't just talking to myself. Um, all right, sorry there, guys. I had to munch a little bit. I've been running around, I haven't eaten a lot today. So, anyways, um, the way I see it, if Biden gets in, he is just going to go along business as usual. We're going to have an Obama, George Bush presidency again. But the real issue is that we have this looming idea of the Great Reset, the fourth
Ba ba
industrial
ba ba ba.
revolution. And with that,
Da, 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 da. Check, check, check. I think I'm good now. I don't know how that happened. Okay,
what'd you
cool.
say?
I don't know. I don't know what happened, but my mic just fell out when we started streaming or something. But I'm here now, so cool.
All right. Sorry. Just asking the chat if your mic's on.
Check. The beer bottle hit the
Little
button.
bottle hit the button. Yeah. Right.
No, the
Um,
whole my whole like audio track disappeared from Discord or not Discord, but OBS. So I don't
yeah,
know.
guys, again, neither one of us are great tech guys. And I just don't want to deal with it, frankly. Also, I do my own content. So, without somebody, but, Tank has some interesting perspectives because he reads Ted Kaczynski too much. And
Too much. What do you mean too much?
not
What do
enough.
you mean too much?
Never enough. Well, anyways, now that you're back,
I was always with you in my heart. Yeah. So anyway, I was talking about Trump and being white pilled. So like I said before, I've made my peace with it. If he loses, whatever. If he uh if he wins, the meltdown would be great. But I'm gonna keep shit posting like I have for the past for 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been at this point. Um, I'm gifted in that I live in a pretty red county in a decently red state. So I'm not going to have to feel too much of I'll feel the culture war for sure, but I'm out of college. I don't care anymore. So, I'm pretty safeguarded. I more feel for like people that are living in California and Michigan, I guess now, and a lot of these states that are really going to feel the brunt, especially of this lockdown shit. Because I think a lot of people in my city, in my county, they just don't give a shit anymore. Like I look like the liberal walking around because I'll put my mask on before I go to a store, and then everyone will be have their mask off, like staring at me. So I think I've got it pretty good out here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more open about where of course, I know where you live, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to tell the interwebs. But I'm a little bit more open about where I live because I just don't care.
I
Because
live in
I mean,
Fresno, California.
right, right. Um, but yeah, as a West Virginian, 50% of West Virginians own firearms. So statistically, every other house, I'd say at worst, every three or
Mhm.
four houses has a firearm. I'm not
Right.
that concerned with people
Mhm.
coming here and acting the fool. Also, man, Trump country super hard. The only Biden flags or signs I would see anywhere around here,
Right.
even when I drive over in the border into Maryland, um, was rare, but really only is around like the college town that's not far from here.
Right.
Um, so it's like I'm not concerned about all the stuff, and I actually want to move a little bit further west or south or something where there's less people and I can buy some land. But that's my dream. That's all I aspire to. It's like that meme. Guys only want one thing, and it's disgusting. And it's like for me, it's a picture of me in the mountains with like 500 acres.
Yeah.
you um, but yeah, life will move on. I think the question is, as I was saying while you were muted there, if Biden gets in, how bad will this economic reset be? The New Republic, and I did cover this a little bit on All Minus One. I actually didn't get through the whole article because it's a very long article. But the New Republic did call for the eradication of the Constitution. Not even that, but a rewriting of it, and then saying, or should we even have a written one? Why would we not have a written constitution unless your whole goal in life is to maintain and obtain power? Like the idea of the Constitution is to protect the people, and
Mhm.
this trope on the left of democracy over and over again. They're hurting democracy. Democracy dies in darkness, says the Washington Post. It's like, yet you are responsible largely for the darkness by censoring people and by putting out fake news, by putting out crazy op-eds comparing Trump to Hitler and whatever. Like, in what capacity is Trump and like Hitler, other than he's patriotic,
Yeah.
you know? And it's not racial patriotism either. It's like you got to understand, Nazism was a racial patriotism specifically, and it was based on Aryanism. It's based on all this occult stuff, H.P. Blavatsky, some stuff from Nietzsche, um, some of the anthropologists that they had a section of anthropology that weren't war criminals. I think one was, but the rest of them were just legitimate scientists, and they had a certain belief, and yeah, there were bad things to the Nazism, of course, spreading Nazism throughout the world, like communism, uh, not ideal. It's like the meme, the trope here, spreading democracy throughout the world and then showing us bombing people. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. Like that's not democracy, but we don't live in a democracy, and I don't know, man. It's just a bunch of brainwashed masses out there that I think more and more are waking up. Look, Barack Obama just said the other day, there's a Vox article. He said that um, the internet was the most dangerous thing to democracy today.
Good. I
That should chill. Yeah, that should chill anyone to the core. That should be like, hair raising.
right. Well, you know me. I've been pretty black pilled on democracy for a while now. So part of me kind of welcomes this new I don't know what I call it, this new movement, I guess, within the left or whatever, that's really pushing for like that we're gonna get rid of the Constitution and this sort of thing, because it's making people like my dad wake up. Because before I felt like a lot of these guys, your typical normie conservative kind of dudes, um, felt like that this could be salvaged, and I really hope it can be salvaged, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not going to say that this election particularly is going to be the end of the United States, but I think we're on a downward slope. Um, and we're going
Yeah,
to
but that started, man. That started back.
yeah, and that's true. I mean,
Right,
I would argue that started in the 30s, but
it started with the Civil War, and it was exacerbated by Teddy Roosevelt,
mhm,
then Woodrow Wilson, and the final nail in the coffin was FDR. And that's just a perspective, but that's my best understanding of history. The United States before the Civil War wasn't really funding industries. We funded a lot afterward, mainly the railroads. The unions became a big thing in the United States. Um, there was a lot of stuff. Obviously, the dictatorship of sorts that Lincoln and the Republicans
mhm,
started. Like when we had Reconstruction, there were southern states that weren't even allowed to vote on amendments and bills and all kinds of stuff.
right,
So there was some serious, and that's why I think fundamentally it would have been best for just let the United States split, and that's cool, man. Like we have a North versus South, and people always make the argument. They're like, well, if you have these competing states, it's like we still have Canada to the north of us and
mhm,
Mexico below us. Like, what are you talking about? This is every nation in Europe are competing states.
yeah,
Every nation around the world. The United States just happens to be very centralized landmass. That is one of the things that makes us very particularly special. Um, and if we had divided, we'd have been fine. I think that slavery would have went away. Mind you, other nations had slavery go away much longer. Um, I think in Brazil it was like the 1920s or 30s before they finally got rid of slavery. Like, of course, slavery still exists in the world today as well.
yeah,
But um, I guess my point to that all that though is that like we've been on this downward trajectory for a long time, and people have been brainwashed, and we talk about this a lot. Like they've been institutionalized, man.
mhm,
It's like from my recollection as a young man watching the Shawshank Redemption, and they talk about people being institutionalized in prison. And then I worked in a jail for 13 years, and I can tell you, people get institutionalized. It's like home. It's like,
oh
oh,
yeah,
cool,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Um, and so I mean we've talked about this in the past, but for anyone who's I guess listening now, culture is a huge deal, and we've been over this, but I've made this point in the past that I feel like the United States right now is just too big anyway. I think we'd all benefit from a little bit of a balkanization. A lot of people are really offended at that idea, though. Like I brought it up with my wife, and she was just like, I don't know how I feel about that, and I kind of don't understand why. Maybe it's my own autism, but I don't understand why people are so offended by that idea. Like obviously, like your Cuomo types in New York hate your rural Southerners. So what's the issue?
Um, the issue is, I think Southerners or rural people are self-sufficient, and they it's like people in cities believe that they're special because they believe in cities because they have all the culture,
Mm,
and most of the time they don't in, take in any of the culture. I mean, you can talk about theater, that kind of stuff,
right.
bands, whatever, but most people don't really take in the culture. What they're taking in is Chinese food, Indian
Yeah.
food. I want to get some shawarma. Let me go down this. Like that's it.
Yeah. So,
Um,
and that's one thing. Like you know, I like to travel. I do like to experience other cultures and stuff. We've talked about this in the past, but you know, going to the taco truck isn't culture. Like when you ride the chicken bus in Nicaragua, that's culture. So that's when you get to experience like what real culture's like. It's almost like this whole like exoticness has become a commodity, for like certain kind of urban elites or elite aspiring people to consume, so that they have like you know I guess just something else to consume.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of that's our problem too is consumerism, right?
Right.
Materialism. I think that's part of the rise of this communist movement. It really is because you have these academics who think that they're smarter and they know better than everyone
Mm-hmm.
else, and they're like, "Oh yeah, if everything was great and everything was right according to Marx, who was a horrible person and pretty much an idiot and never worked a day in his life, um, like if that all worked out, we could take care of everyone. Everyone would have everything exactly the same. It's like one, I don't want to be like everyone else. I want to be me. I want to be an individual. Two, anytime I've been materialistic in my life, wherever I was at, I was freaking not in a good place. I was in a dark place. You know, if I would, you use materialism, consumerism to fill that void in your soul, right? It's like a drug addiction. It's like sex addiction. It's like any other addiction. There's something missing, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore you're doing it, you're fulfilling it. And to make a whole philosophy based on materialism and then also power on top of that, it's just absurd to me.
Well, the thing about it
Um,
too, a lot of these like post left guys that you're seeing coming out now, or have put their finger on this. Most of these elites, these academic types that consider themselves Marxist, they don't give a fuck about the working class. Um, they've never been the working class, so it's not even so much. Well, here's my theory on the whole situation. It's not so much that these guys want to help out the working class. Like I've said before, you don't fight a revolution to become a plumber. You just go become a plumber. Um, uh, y- these guys aren't about what they're about is after the revolution, they get to run shit, and that's why I like the uh, Christopher Lash, who was I think a former Marxist or something, wrote a book called Revolt of the Elites, and it goes into a lot of this sort of thing. But he calls these people the PMCs, the professional managerial class. But I would add to that and say that it's not just the professional managerial class; it's those aspiring to be that class as well. That really are the most ill affected. Like honestly, in our society, most working class people don't have it too bad. Like your welders, your plumbers, your construction guys, they got it pretty good. The idea that you got these Marxists that's going to go up to one of these dudes and tell them that, oh, you're being exploited by your employer and your labor surplus value, blah blah blah, whatever. They're going to look at them like they're crazy. But the barista who went to grad school that's got $75,000 in debt for student loans, they will buy that message. So I mean, it's just they're not speaking to the people they claim to be speaking to.
yeah, I mean, we talked about this like two or three streams
Yeah.
ago. But no, I agree. We're a nation that were explorers and frontiersmen
Mm-hmm.
and homesteaders who then became a nation of people in mediocrity. And if you look right now, let's say in Europe, there are riots going on about masks and COVID lockdowns and whatever else. Not here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Little sheeple United
Right.
States is, or at least the people in the cities, are going, oh, okay. I think one of the advantages we have here in the US though is in the more rural areas,
Yeah.
you're not seeing basically enforcement. You're not going to see enforcement. I know the sheriff in my county does not care to enforce the laws. One, they're unconstitutional because they're not laws, they're edicts by the governor.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Justice is not one to talk. I mean, the guy is morbidly obese. And I mean, he is rotund, dude. Um, Now he might be very wealthy. He's a billionaire because of the coal mines he owns or whatever. But Doesn't make him any good. In fact, he's, as far as I know, a globalist, trying to import people into West Virginia and whatever else. And West Virginia has its issues. One of its issues, in my opinion, is it got too many unions and too much socialism, and it's been democratic for a long time. And I think we're getting away from that, hopefully, because this is a great state. There's a ton of land. There's a ton of development we could do. It's just getting around the mountains, and many other states have figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason why we can't. But yeah, you have people that seek mediocrity, and that's what that middle management thing is. That's mediocrity, dude. And I've seen it time and time again. But not only do I see that, but then you see the leadership above it promote people to mediocrity for their own stupid reasons, to maintain the system or whatever. And they're always afraid to change things or improve things. And it's not even because they're conservative in that sense. It's because they're afraid and they don't want to put kinks in the wheel, and they don't want to experiment to improve. But dude, we can talk about that for hours. Let's focus on this. We can either talk about the election stuff or we can talk about the Great Reset, because we're getting into an hour of the show now.
Yeah.
And I do want to cover some of the stuff with the Great Reset.
Yeah, go ahead and fill me in, because I'm not exactly sure what this is. I've just kind of seen it floating around Twitter. You can kind of, I guess you can enlighten me here.
All right, well, I'm about to go lowbrow. Get myself a hams.
Oh shit, dude, that's super low. What the fuck? that's like below PBR status.
They didn't have any pint PBRs, and I was like,
give me a hams, I guess.
I was like, it's 375. We'll see how it does.
Whoa! Oh my god. That's oh. Oh man, that's
It basically tastes like PBR.
I'm about to say, like, I mean, it's not any better, but it can't be much worse. Woo!
It's actually closer to High Life and the sweetness of it, but yeah, I'll go back to the other ones. I don't want to drink two of those guys and get a little ditzy, too ditzy. In any case, so Klaus Schwab is some philanthropist, that
is he the guy that makes Q-tips?
Right, I don't know.
That's the only Schwab I know, right?
He's like a banker dude or something.
Okay.
And or I don't know what he is. I haven't really looked into it, but he runs the World Economic Forum, or he's the president of it, or whatever. I don't really care about the details.
Right.
He has been talking about the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Now, I mentioned to you before the stream, I was watching the UFC fights this weekend at my buddy's house. ESPN Plus, right? They do have commercials between fights, between the breaks and the rounds, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, Lumen comes up, the company Lumen, and it's talking about the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And I'm like, wow, they are just blatant about this stuff now.
So what is it? What is this Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Okay, so we're going to go down this rabbit hole real quick. So the Fourth Industrial Revolution is this idea that technology is going to be so widespread that we are going to basically live in some sort of transhuman society where everyone is connected via nodes in our brain or whatever, like Neuralink, Elon Musk's thing.
Yeah.
And we won't have to go anywhere or do anything. Amazon will deliver packages by drone to us. Yes. And in fact, let's instead of me explaining all this, let me see which article this was here.
Is it the one on Archive?
Not the Archive. I mean, it explains it too. I only archived that because they took down their Twitter. I think the second one.
Welcome to
one from the World Economic Forum itself. I think
Wayforum.org.
Yeah, that's not it either. Let's see here. Maybe I just didn't. I thought I had one with the with the video in it. But in any case, they talk about this. But yeah, go ahead and bring up the weforum.org one.
Okay.
So the idea of the fourth industrial revolution is that technology is to this point where we get to basically be the people on Wally. We don't go anywhere, we don't do anything, we get to sit around, we get to be fat, but we also don't own anything. We rent it, which is one step removed from slavery in my mind. Like, I don't mind renting a place or a house or certain things if I'm going to use it briefly, but you don't get to own anything. You don't have any property rights. Where's the freedom without property rights? So, if we look at this, it says, "Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better." Okay. And it talks about, welcome to year 2030, welcome to my city, or should I say our city? How progressive and woke of you. Uh, it says, first communication became digitized and free to everyone. Then, when clean energy became free, things started moving quickly. Transportation dropped dramatically in price. Why would that happen? Like, why would clean energy become free? Yeah, but this is the stuff they're talking about. Transportation dropped uh dramatically in price. I'll tell you what will make transportation drop in price: free markets. Like Uber, Lyft. The New York City subway was a privately owned organization, and it's been the city itself that eventually um made it public, took it over, and then have basically subsidized the price to stay low. But hey, what do I know? I just, read some books about economics in my 20s. Um, let's see. It talks about flying cars. Environmental problems seem far away. Da, da, da. The death of shopping. This is interesting. Way down here, it says shopping. I can't really remember what that is. For most of us, it has been turned into choosing things to use. Sometimes I find this fun, and sometimes I just want the algorithm to do it for me. Yeah. Well, this is I don't know who wrote this. Is there it says Adi Alkin. This was from 2016. The World Economic Forum, dude. It's a globalist organization. Like when I tell people that all globalism is about communism, they're like, "No, you're just a conspiracy theorist." You're just an idiot. You don't read. I think most people just want to keep their head in the sand about it. But yeah, dude, what are we talking about? We're talking about turning around 4,000 years of human history. Now, human beings have probably been around longer, but we're talking about going against our very nature. We're talking about going against the very nature of being a being of materialism, being a materialistic being, of physical matter that works within hierarchies of nature, because all animals are essentially capitalistic. I mean, like they might be socialistic within their family structure, but that's as far as it goes. And then what I would say, based on like first principles, socialism and communism is just slavery, dude. Like that whole thing that the lefties really hate, slavery and why America's evil and everything else. The slaves couldn't own property, right? They had to work, right? Everything was provided for them, right? They weren't allowed to read and write. It was actually illegal. A lot of people told their slaves to read and write anyways, but um just saying, like explain to me the difference here. So it says, sometimes I find this funny, and sometimes I want the algorithm to do, or find it fun. I want the algorithm to do it to me. When AI and robots took over so much of our work, we suddenly had time to eat well, sleep well, and spend time with other people. Yeah, it's about being a hedonist and being lazy. By the way, you're not going to have any meaning in your life if it's like this. Well, yeah, it's crazy stuff, dude. Um, I will say this, I brought it up to you before, but the book We, which was written by Yevgeny Zamatian in Russia, he was one of the original Bolsheviks, the old Bolsheviks as they were called. And he was eventually kicked out. They were practicing a form of Taylorism in Soviet Russia, which Taylorism is this like systematic, mathematical way of organizing everything. And um, he wrote a book about this in this future utopia, and it's called We.
Right.
And they talk about the point where there was a 130-year war, 120-year war. I can't remember quite exactly, but it was the war between the city and the countryside. And it
Hmm.
always is, and it always has been, as the meme goes, the Earth and the astronaut meme. I had a couple of those tonight, but I didn't use them. In any case, yeah, like they're sitting here talking about getting rid of all kinds of stuff. I just sent you a link in the Discord.
Hmm.
Pull that guy up. That has the video in it. I meant to get this to you earlier, but I wasn't sure it was quite right. Just a minute and 30-second video, so we should be able to play it no problem. And it's going to give you the 8 predictions for the world in 2030. And I know you love all this stuff because I know how much you're into transhumanism and
Oh
and
yeah,
technology.
it's my favorite. It's gonna take me a second to pull it up. Um,
You need to get a better computer.
yeah, and I think it
Yes,
dropped. I think it dropped my mic on this one too. Here we go. Build back better.
so
There's a video on here.
no, it's not that one. It's the last link I just sent you.
Oh, oh.
Sorry, folks.
It's
I didn't mean to
okay.
get boring here.
My
Start the show.
my my
This one's
mic.
pretty good though too, but because it has that little infographic. But go to the last link I just sent you on Discord.
Okay. Um, my mic fell out again on that last thing.
Is it working now?
Yeah, it's up now, but I don't know what's going on.
I just went through. I just listened to you on the stream,
Yeah.
so you're fine. Here we go.
Klaus Schwab. This video right
So,
here.
Klaus Schwab says you will own nothing in 10 years. Yes. You don't even have to enlarge it. Just hit play and. Um, question is, do you have your system set up for the audio to come through?
Yeah, it's
You don't
coming.
even need the
It's
audio.
coming through.
Okay. But so you don't even need the audio because it's just that it's a visual. It says you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent, right? The US won't be the world leading superpower. Oh yeah, they're gonna 3D print organs. They are working on that. I don't know about all this. You eat much less red meat because you need to be docile and weak. I don't understand how 1 billion people are going to be displaced by climate change either.
They're not.
No, it's insane. It's ridiculous. But this is the crap. This is why Donald Trump needs to win. And if he doesn't, maybe he can come back. I don't think it's over. They're talking about 2030. It's interesting because I've been on this whole thing for a little while, maybe the last 9 months since lockdowns, whatever. I don't know. So Dave Collin over on Computing Forever on YouTube has covered some of this stuff very early on. So thank you to him because he's got a pretty large channel, not super huge, but pretty big channel, and I called it, and some other people have covered it, but it's just a matter of being aware of things and keeping up with what's going on. But this is a big like globalist agenda, Green New Deal, all that stuff wrapped up in the one. In order to put you into a cashless society, which, by the way, folks, if you recall, see, no, I'll be 40 very soon. So, despite my youthful good looks, but I if you recall back in the early 2000s, there was a lot of talk about this stuff then to some degree, right? And there were people like Alex Jones who are way over the top and kind of crazy about how they present things, right? And Alex is more of an entertainer who were trying to be discredited and whatever else. Well, things weren't quite working and moving and happening, but we are going to continually go that direction. The fourth industrial revolution and the Great Reset is this idea that we're going to go to this cashless society. We're going to have this kind of communist utopia, and the Great Reset is about using the COOF for the purpose of the reset. See, we use it as an excuse to keep everything locked down. Therefore, we have to bail everybody out. The NIH in England, right? Their health service, they were established essentially because after World War II, there just wasn't anything in place. The country was destroyed. Therefore, they made it public and they socialized their healthcare system, and it's an absolute nightmare. That's kind of what we're looking at doing here. And interestingly, if you dig into this stuff and the fourth industrial revolution, it's also the idea that they'll cut you off, dude. They will freaking cut you off if you do not follow the rules that they want. They will censor you. They're doing this now. So I made a video on All Minus One yesterday. Yeah, that's number 2 officially. All Minus One is my YouTube channel, guys. I do by myself without Tank. This is our live show, right? I talked about this, and the first thing I opened up with was Revelation 13 when it talks about the mark of the beast, because I think that people interpret that as all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not, and it simply means this: if you don't follow the rules, if you don't follow the state, if you don't follow those authorities that be, you're not going to be able to buy or sell. You're not going to have any. If you don't worship it, if you don't work for it and you don't think about it, it's not in your brain. You don't do that. You're not going to be able to buy or sell. And we already see this now with PayPal. We've seen this with other banks. Forget. I think I don't know if Chase has done it. There's been a couple of banks that have done it. I can't recall which ones. We've seen this with the gay wedding cake baker deal, or not gay. Wouldn't bake a cake for someone who was gay. And we've actually seen this in the during the Protestant Reformation, amongst other Protestants. The Anti-Baptists were persecuted hardcore by Calvinists and Lutherans, and wouldn't allow them to buy or sell products. So I'm not of the opinion that book is about some little period of time at the end of time. I think it is an instruction of how things will unfold over time and the challenges that people will see who are in the faith. But again, we've seen this idea. They used to talk about computer chips being implanted into you. You need a computer chip. Use your phone. Take your phone and swipe your phone, and you don't need your credit card. I mean, hell, I'm old enough to remember when I was still a teen in the military and weary about getting a debit card, which is all I use now. I don't even carry cash. But it's this idea of moving to a cashless society. And if you do that, everything's electronic, they can cut you off. So I don't know.
Well, you know how I feel about all this shit. The thing the telltale sign when you know someone's bullshitting you about this sort of thing is the red meat. For me, that's what stands out the most. it's this idea that, oh, we're all gonna eat less red meat because it's good for the environment. Like, people have been eating red meat forever, and it's been totally fine for the environment.
It has been the staple of
Yeah.
all herding, that step between agriculture and
Mm-hmm.
herding nomadic societies has been the staple of all throughout all of human history.
And I mean, don't get me
So
wrong. I love a good like butternut squash casserole, but you know, if you're going to have to eat meat. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. But I mean, I have a quarter acre land, which isn't a lot by any stretch of the imagination, and I could have several goats here, if I wanted to raise my own. So
yeah, she might get a tax write off for that. By the way,
yeah,
I had a sergeant back in the day that he or lieutenant, sorry, that yeah did exactly that. He got it just because it lowered his property tax.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So yeah, this whole like everything we just watched in that video is pretty terrifying. Um, I mean, I don't know exactly where to place the blame at. Because some of it is definitely like you've got some socialist kind of guys. So I think it's less of that and more these weird like technocrats that want that like this idea that, oh, the United States isn't gonna be a world power. It's gonna be a small collective of different nations. Well, motherfucker, which nations are you talking about? Because that's pretty important. If it's if it's China, India, Turkey, and Pakistan, then we might have some issues.
It will be.
Yeah.
Dude, look at if you study at all the UN and the corruption within the UN, you look at who gets away with it, and look at, dude, I'm no Zionist, right? I'm no Zionist at all. But look at how the UN treats Israel and the US.
Are we going there? We're going to do that.
And if there's any reason that Trump should support or would support Israel,
right,
is because they're the anti-globalist country, only because the globalists hate them.
Right.
And I know a lot of people give Trump a lot of hate about that. I call him Trumpelstein and whatever else, and that's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. I don't think we need to be giving foreign aid to Israel personally, but I do think that moving the embassy to Jerusalem was, considering that's the capital, like an important thing to do.
Yeah,
and a big fu to the United Nations, by the way.
Yeah, the whole moving the capital, I don't care one way or the other, but I think you're right. Like, I don't do this. The amount of money we give to Israel, for these like globalist guys to tell us that, oh, we're gonna have, the United States is gonna be a superpower. I feel like there's a lot of reasons why the United States not being a superpower. I'm not gonna say it's good, but the United States isn't. I'll say it this way: the United States is not going to be a superpower forever. We just don't have that kind of stamina. I don't feel like, and I think, I think contrary to a lot of other people on the right, I do think that the non-Western world has some things to teach us that we can learn in terms of getting back to our family structures and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, I'm with you that giving that kind of money to Israel is absolutely insane.
Yeah, well, it keeps them down too, and no one talks about it. Bernie Sanders doesn't. He goes, look at the Nordic nations, right? He'll talk about that, but he never talks about Israel, because Israel's a socialist nation. They do have a market economy, but it is a socialist nation. So he never talks about that. And he's Jewish.
Yeah.
But I mean, the chat is still talking about the small hat conspiracy, and I'm not going to disagree, but at the same time, there's all kinds of other people involved. You have the royals, you have all these international bankers who aren't that. You have just people that are influential who have power. Look, George Orwell wrote about this in at least 2 books, The Open Conspiracy and The New World Order, back in the 1930s. This has been a long, long plan. They want this one world government We got to bring the world together for world peace. It has nothing to do with that, though. The reality is, it's these people want to tell you how to live and what to do with your life because they just know better. Why they
Mm,
know better, I don't know. And it's just kind of like vestige of the divine right of kings kind of thing, you know. And me, I just want to be left alone. I want liberty. I want constitutional principles. I want a constitutional government. Um, and Trump isn't perfect, but man, he's. I mean, the only person in my lifetime comparable was Reagan, and I was born under Carter, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and of course, I was just too little to know better. But um, immediately, Reagan made concessions just to get in, and the biggest one was taking in GW, or not
well,
GW. That's his
yeah,
son, but yeah, to take in George Bush, and like, man, like that dude was a deep state. Like the Bushes go way back with this globalist agenda,
yeah,
way back. And that goes back to that comment that Barack Obama made. The internet is the biggest threat to democracy. I don't think he meant legitimate democracy because he knows we don't live in that. That's just that's just fodder for the masses. That's just let me placate you all.
right,
What he's saying is that people waking up and having information and being able to share ideas, whether they're true or not, whether they're actual conspiracy or they're shedding the light on conspiracy. What he is saying is that you all are too dangerous to have information. And that's what the tech companies think as well, right?
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I kind of volley between these guys are super evil masterminds and the other side of the coin being that these guys are all just idiots that somehow ended up in charge. Because I almost believe that, like, Barack Obama and the ilk are literally scared because working class people are posting Pepe memes. Um, so like, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think that these guys are just super smart and super calculated, or do you believe that maybe they just come from a long line of like actual privilege and they're just the dumbest ones to, you know, crop up?
Well, here's my take, and it's always been my take. Like, as much as I love the really deep, dank conspiracy theory and that everything is controlled and whatever else, I think life, the world, things are far too complicated for that.
Right.
But if you get a bunch of really rich, influential, and powerful people around and they start to talk and they go, well, Tank and Bill, they're just regular, lower middle class Joes. What do they know? We know better. We're going to actually improve their lives. And the thing is, I've been around, hell, I haven't been my family, but I've been around, people that are intellectuals, and um, they tend to think a lot of nonsense that
Yeah.
just isn't true. It's like it's kind of like the meme on the right about everyone on the right being autistic and
Mm-hmm.
therefore can find all these things and their brains function differently. That'd be a good show to do, by the way, because I think autism is mostly BS. I'm not saying there isn't real autism, but I'm just saying I think it's way overdiagnosed. I think the diagnosis of autism, much like ADHD and a lot of other things, are just like little boys being masculine, having high
Right.
testosterone,
Yeah.
you know. But in any case, the the notion that they know better. I'll take a perfect example is Noam Chomsky. Like, Chomsky's brilliant when it comes to linguistics. Like, he figured all that stuff out. You listen to his political takes, the dude's like, I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, he's somewhere between an anarchist and some sort of socialist, communist, and then claims that the founding fathers wanted that. It's like, what are you
He
talking about? No, they were
he
minarchists, dude.
he's
You
an
know,
he's like an
go ahead.
anarcho-communist that will vote for any Democratic candidate they put on a ticket.
It's like,
Like he is like this like super like big brain dick, like to be honest with you, I didn't even know he was a linguist until like 4 years ago. I didn't know what he did. And then I saw him as like the guy that like people in Rage Against the Machine t-shirts would talk about. But yeah, like this guy like even if he was the smartest motherfucker like politically, that everyone makes him out to be. If he's as smart as people, the motherfucker voted for Joe Biden. Like what do you want?
Right. And the thing is if you're a person who pays attention and you're against this big government and oligarchy and plutocracy and technocracy, why would you vote for Joe Biden? Like, I get it. Technically, Trump is a plutocrat because he's very wealthy. Okay.
Right.
But he's not an oligarch, and he's definitely not a technocrat. So, like, what are you doing? And these people are like, oh, I hate war, but I'm going to vote for the guy that went to war. Or that voted for wars. Every single war, including the one I was in. Every single one.
The problem is these guys, especially on the left, a lot of times they try to make politics more complicated than they need to be. Why do I support Trump? I support Trump because the people who hate me are really upset that Trump is president. Like that's all there is to it. It doesn't need to go any deeper than that. You don't have to get into minutia of, policy this or policy. Anyone who calls themselves a policy wonk, like don't even speak to me. That sounds gay as shit. So it's like I think it was Carl Schmitt. There's like this meme that floats around of Carl Schmitt, who's like this German philosopher guy or political guy, and he's like, pretty much every single political disagreement falls down between who's your enemies and who's your friends. And that's really what it is. Like, you have a group of people in like academia, the cathedral, if you want to use Moldbug's terms or whatever, that actively hate guys like me, relatively self-sufficient guys who just don't buy into the bullshit. I just want to live my life in peace. And so, regardless of how bad Trump is, if he's a plutocrat, if he's a whatever, he's the enemy of my enemy. So, I mean, it's an easy call. Like, what I'm going to do, vote for Joe Biden? Yeah.
All plutocrat means really is that you're a wealthy elite.
Oh yeah, I'm not even faulting him for that.
Right. I don't care. That look, man, Ross Perot, I couldn't vote during that election, but I remember that being a big deal. I was pretty politically aware when I was young, but I didn't understand the depths of things until I was like in my mid-20s or so. But Ross Perot, if you go back and look at what Ross Perot was saying, not much different than the stuff Donald Trump was saying.
Oh yeah, Bill Clinton,
really not.
Obama's first term, was not that different.
Yeah, the difference though is who's an insider and who's an outsider. Whereas like Obama was brought up within the system and trained by certain people. And here's one thing with like traditional conservatives, someone like Larry Elder, for instance, will talk about all the faults of Obama and how he introduced socialism in the United States and whatever else. And it's like, dude, you actually have to understand that this goes deeper. This goes a lot deeper than that. Like, so did George Bush.
Right.
So did Bill Clinton. This is a slow, deep climb into this abyss. And I'm, again, not saying that they all sit in a room and say, let's calculate perfectly all these plans.
Right.
But they do think that they know better than you, that you don't, that you just don't have a say. This is why, another reason why they hate Trump. They're like, oh, he's a populist. We can't dare let the people actually have a say. All the while out the other side of their mouth, they'll be like, he's destroying democracy.
Yeah. And you kind of hit the nail on the head there, which is probably obvious to a lot of people at this point, but you have insiders and you have outsiders. And, you've got these deep DC types. I mean, if you've ever been, like, I went to DC one time, and spoke to some guys that I mean, even low level dudes that work in DC, and they're all just the same. They're cut from the same cloth. Like, they are not me. They are not. They're not like my dad. They're not like my brother. Like, these guys want to run shit, and I'm generally skeptical of anyone who wants to run shit.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm always the reluctant leader. So many times in my life, there's been a call for someone to take charge of something, and everyone's like, you know, oh, I want to do it, or I want to do it, or whatever, and they're horrible at it, and then they all get fired, and I'm finally
Yeah.
like, I'm the guy, and
Yeah.
I end up being the guy.
Yeah.
Or other people ask me to do it, and it's like, I don't want to tell you what to do because I'm not an authoritarian. I can be, because sometimes you need to be. I mean, that is reality. That's what you realize when you're a grown up. You sometimes authoritarianism is needed. Doesn't mean you need to be like a tyrant, But if I raise my daughter
Mm-hmm.
and not being authoritarian at certain points, she would be a nightmare. That's how you set up boundaries. That's why we have laws. Laws are inherently authoritarian, right? So you have to realize that kind of stuff. It's interesting because I've mentioned to you on the show before, but for our viewers, just to let them know, like, I live near the DC area, and my wife, she's sort of what she does now isn't I don't consider it political, but she does. But it's basically animal activism stuff, like defunding stupid animal testing junk.
Yeah.
But before she was in other like political, more I would consider more political policy type orgs, and so I know all these young people who work in the DC area, work for all these nonprofits, and she was living in Arlington when I first met her, and she moved out. We got married, moved in with me and all that, but we went back to her place for a Halloween party, and there was a dude there, and I met this dude's wife before once, but I hadn't met him. And eh, this we were talking, and he was a young guy, and he kind of seemed thinking a lot of himself, and he was asking me, what I did and where I come from. I kind of told him my background. He's like, oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, you know. And then he kind of got real with me real quick, and he's like, yeah, I don't really do anything. And he was an aide. He was an aide to a congressman or something like that, I believe. I believe it was a congressman from Arizona. I can't tell you which one because I don't know, because I don't recall. Because this was like 2 years ago as well. But he told me he basically didn't go to work most of the time. He probably went to work 2 to 3 days a week, and he got paid $70,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And no, again, that's not most of the people I know within my uh sphere of people that I know, but that guy particularly, his wife was an assistant of a friend of my wife's. Later on, got fired, that kind of thing, whatever. But I'm just saying that exists in DC. So this guy's like 24 years old, probably
Mm-hmm.
making $70,000 a year, going to work 2 or 3 days a week, and when he shows up to work, he does nothing. And he's a congressional staffer. That's how it works, folks. And you could say, Bill, you're full of crap. You're making that up. And no, I'm not. I am not making that up at all.
And the worst thing about it is, most likely this guy, this isn't where his job. Like, if you gave me a job for 70,000 a year as a congressional staffer, I'd be happy just having that. But this dude probably has aspects higher than that. He eventually wants to run some shit. And then you've got guys whose only job was being congressional staffer or whatever, eventually in a position where they do get to run shit. They get to decide what happens in Wyoming. That is a ridiculous situation that we're in.
A lot of people don't realize when they're freshman congressmen, happens less to senators, though it can happen. But when they're freshman congressmen, especially, they get brought in and they're like, "Shut up! This is how it works."
Yeah.
By the staffers
Yeah.
who aren't elected. Tell them that. You're
Yeah.
nobody.
That's one of my biggest criticisms. Well, it's not just mine, but if anyone has ever read some James Burnham, he wrote this book called The Machiavellians, which is one of the only books I'll ever recommend. But he's like, democracy in a lot of situations, well, democracy period, is kind of a myth because you'll vote for these guys and maybe they win, maybe they don't, but they've got so many unelected appointees that the will of the people is never going to come through. But that being said, let's take a pee break because I got to go. We'll come back in about.
I'm good, but yeah, go ahead. I'll go just in case. Anyways,
Okay, sounds good.
Go.
All
All
right.
right, man.
All right.
I guess we'll be right back. Oh, looks like we're coming back at the same time. All right, let's see.
Oh.
Look at the chat here real quick.
Okay.
Says, yeah. Still smoking weed, still voting Republican. Yeah, back in the day, you would just be called a libertarian. Now I don't even know. Yeah, $70K a year to do nothing. Yeah, that's I'm not joking, guys. Like that is a reality. Hunter made that at 50. I voted since 1980. Well, I don't know how old you are, but you might have, the way the voter rolls go anymore. That's always been true, though. By the way, like,
yeah, actually, my great grandfather voted until he was 150.
I mean, I hope I vote until I'm 150.
You'll be voting for Democrats.
Yeah, I'll be mad. It's funny though, because I was actually, like, my wife and I both, we're like happy to go vote for Donald Trump, and I think she voted for Gary Johnson in the last election, but I haven't voted for any presidential candidate in 3 elections.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went over to watch the fights this past weekend, my buddy was telling me, and my buddy's like an Army vet, like Purple Heart recipient, all this stuff. He's like telling me, he's like, yeah, he's like, I haven't voted in like 3 elections, but he's like, when it came to like, he's like, when it was like McCain versus Obama, he's like, McCain's a liberal, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I should get away from using the term liberal because I consider myself a liberal, at least a classical liberal, but still, McCain was not, like, anyone who thinks he's a Republican ever, what's wrong with you? Even his daughter when she's on The View, dude, like you're a conservative, seriously? Because you seem to be a big status girl, and a big girl too, but
But I guess we kind of got way off topic with all of this, but kind of to backtrack really far, I'm hoping the white pill of this whole election rigging shit, I feel is like I said before, the normie conservatives, people like my dad, people like my brother, they don't really pay attention to politics, to go, oh, I see, this whole thing's a sham. So if that happens, I'll consider it a win.
Yeah, well, again, I think that goes back to Obama's comment. They can't control things. Look, folks, let's talk about net neutrality really quickly, even though it hasn't been brought up in a while. Because if Biden gets into office, net neutrality will be a thing again.
Right.
I promise you. And all that is a means to censorship, and only in more monopoly. By the way, I hope that this whole thing with Trump, like if he gets all this through and it's a lawfare thing, or it's the delegates that put him in, whatever it ends up being, that he goes and he says, all right, we did this, I don't care anymore, they can try and impeach me, they don't have the numbers, let's get to it, and let's improve our election system, let's finally get some safeguard and security in there. And I brought this up last week, but I honestly believe there needs to be an amendment where we're
Mhm.
at today. I'm not big on IDs and all that stuff, but look, the reality is you want to have an honest, fair election, then we need to have, at least on the federal level, we need to have an ID shown. Everyone has an ID. It's required of us. I don't like the system. I don't agree with it. Of course, here I'm in West Virginia. They asked me what year I was born, and usually that's good enough. But I go, 10 miles up the road into Maryland, and it's like, oh, you look under 40. Got to
Yeah.
show that ID, and it's like stupid. It's like, do I look? I get it. I'm young looking. I got a beard now. If I shaved, it'd be worse. But like, do you really think I'm 18 or under 21? Like, does anyone think I'm under 21? Come on, let's use some common sense. And I hate that. That is where the nation is going. It's like, oh, you're not allowed to make autonomous decisions. Let us tell you, otherwise we'll fine you to death.
Well, like
Let's make all the judgment calls for you. Yeah.
even with I'm for voter ID too as well, but even without voter ID, there's so many steps you could put in place to make our elections more secure. And
Yes.
the fact that no one wants to do it is just insane to me. I mean, you can't say you can't convince me that you care about democracy and care about every vote counting, all this other bullshit they say on Twitter, if you don't want to make sure the elections are secure. Um, I think we talked about this last stream, but even if you had even if every ballot had a serial number, all kind, there's little things. It doesn't take much. But they don't. The fact of the matter is they don't want voting to be secure. They want to be able to rig it. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced that they even tried to rig it in 2016. They probably tried to rig it every single election of my
They try and
lifetime.
rig it every time.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
You're being naive if you
yeah,
don't think they haven't rigged
yeah.
it for years.
So I mean,
They rig primaries far
yeah,
more often, but yeah,
yeah,
like hardcore rig.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that, and that doesn't bother me, like I said, because I kind of see democracy as we know it anyway on its way out. Um, but don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Like we can see what's happening. Like we saw this election, we saw what happened. We know what's up. Um, I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, I think 2 weeks ago or last week I considered this kind of a black pill, but I think I'm kind of looking at it as a white pill now. Like the more people that realize that this shit's rigged, it's always been rigged, it's going to be rigged, the more we can actually put it to these guys who are in charge and actually get some kind of functional government out of it, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that's one of the reasons why we really need to root for Trump. I think one of the problems that's been going on within conservative spheres, anyone who's just small time like us, on the
Right.
interwebs or bigger, is they're all black pill. They're all like losing hope. They're all
Yeah.
giving up.
Well, the media's done a really good job of trying to demoralize
But
everyone too.
screw the media.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah,
have they been right about? What are they right about? Come on. Like, how naive, and I'm not talking about you, Tank, obviously,
yeah.
but guys, how naive are you? Like, how brainwashed are you that you think the media tells you the truth ever?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think we talked about this before the stream. But the media is still on hardcore gaslighting mode, and that's not to mean that Trump's going to win or that he's likely to win. But you can see that these guys are sweating. That he might have a shot. and to me that's enough to give me hope. Like it's like if you ever did like a wrestling or grappling or some kind of competition or MMA or whatever, and you see the other guys getting tired, even if he beats you, that's a good sign that you've got something going on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's this thing where I'm a realist, and when the election happened, I wasn't like all hurt or whatever. I mean, I just traveled the weekend before, and I had some other
Mm-hmm.
stuff going on and whatever else, and I just kind of couldn't get my head around. I'm like, this is crazy, and everyone saw the votes flip
Oh
overnight.
yeah,
But at the same time, the media had set this up. Bloomberg had done his little investigation through his little third party, whatever. And they said, well, there's going to be a red mirage. But the red mirage that they predicted was going to be over weeks, not overnight.
right.
And that was a setup to gaslight people to say, oh, no, expect these out of nowhere ballots.
Yeah.
Expect this, expect that.
Well,
Um,
well, that's the thing. So I don't know if you pay attention to this, but the reason why they called Atlanta, Fulton County, Atlanta, and Georgia to stop counting was because of a water line break. Turns out,
yeah, it was nothing.
yeah, it was on Twitter. That water line broke at like 5 p.m. It was fixed in like an hour and a half, and it had no bearing on that thing. So they're obviously bullshitting. Um, the thing for me, my goal out of this, like I was saying before, is to get your normies to realize this. Like, hey, because I think well, I guess we want to talk about this. We're kind of out of time, but you know, the Trump movement, the right wing populist, whatever you want to call it, the movement doesn't necessarily end with Trump, even if he loses, whatever. There's a path forward for this movement. Um, it might take some doing. It might take a little bit of work, or put some smart people in the right places, but it's possible. So that's why I'm not really that upset about whatever happens with this.
Yeah, I'm not either. And that's again, it doesn't matter either way. It would be better if Trump got
Yeah,
reelected
for sure.
for a lot of reasons. But Trump, everyone needs to realize right from the beginning, Trump is a man. He is one guy. He is not perfect. In fact, he's done stuff, a lot of stuff I don't like. Um, but he's done certainly far more that I do like, and way more than any president I can remember since I've been really politically aware. That's been since the Clinton administration. Um, and he was always going to be gone eventually.
Mhm.
No, I think he should run again. I know he's going to be old, but it doesn't matter. I think he should run again. If he loses, I think he should come back. I think there'll be a ton of support. I think people will, after a Biden Harris administration or a Harris administration or a deep state administration, because that's really what it's going to be. Um, I think that they're going to see how bad things got. I think the big thing that really hurt Trump, other than this nonsense lockdown, whatever uh, stuff, was the fact that COVID came out. I mean, COVID was an excuse to make these lockdowns happen and to blame Trump for a crashing economy.
Mhm.
And I don't even call them normies at this point because they're normies. That's to me, normies are like my mom and dad or my sister and brother-in-law. Like they're rather intelligent people, but they don't really follow this stuff that deeply. But I mean idiots. Like there are a lot of idiots out there. And I've seen a lot of on the street footage. Like there are a lot of uh black guys who kind of like lived in the ghetto kind of stuff that were going around talking to young black men about Trump. And they'd be like, oh man, F Trump. Yeah, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Screw that guy. He a racist. And then they would sit there and level with him. They'd be like, what's racist? What do you say? No, he didn't say that. Can I show you a video? Here's this. Here's that. What why did the media always love this guy before that? Why did no one ever accuse him of racism before he ran for president?
Mhm.
And see, you start stirring the wheels a little bit with people. It's that something we've gotten away from.
Mm.
It's that Socratic method thing where you ask your opponent a bunch of questions about why they think the way they think, and then you clarify their statements and you clarify your own. instead of just yelling at each other, getting all emotional because you're, a douchebag who's not self-developed. I don't know what to say because you are if you just that hurts my feelings. Orange Man's horrible. Yeah, Nazis. It's like, dude, are you insane? Like seriously,
Yeah.
that's how I feel every time I see it. And I got friends, man. I got friends from high school, people I know from middle school. I go back 30 freaking years. I'm like, um, oh no, Trump's horrible. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You don't see it? It's all racism. It's racism. I'm like, you, man, at that point to me, it's like, you don't even deserve to vote. You're not intelligent enough to vote. You're not awake enough to vote. You don't even know what's going on. You're just being used. You're a pawn. And that's really, that is the ultimate problem with democracy. It's
Yeah.
mob rules, it's pawns, it's emotions, it's nonsense, it's whatever. Trump isn't perfect. Trump isn't the guy to make everything better. Trump is a beginning to a new era as long as we do not allow that deep state, that globalism to take back over. And that's going to be the problem. We're going to have to keep this up. There's been that speculation out there that Trump's going to create some sort of media company or buy one out. Hell, CNN's on the up and up right now. That would be the greatest troll ever if Trump could buy out CNN. Didn't force them to flip to be a conservative network overnight.
Mm. Well,
That would be amazing.
Fox News is doing pretty shitty too. If he could buy CNN and Fox, that would be.
Fox is crap on itself. It's the freaking Murdochs. I've told people from the beginning. Look, man, Fox is better than CNN and MSN and CBS and ABC put together. They are, but they were anti-Trump
Oh my god!
from the get-go. If you remember 2015, they were totally
Yeah,
anti-Trump.
and
2015, 2016, yes.
and that's the thing that's been getting me, like with all these guys trying to call bullshit on the people say like the election's rigged, and you got Democrats that'll say, well, it's not rigged. Look at what Republican blah 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 and blah 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 region. I'm like, dude, the Republicans don't like Trump. I think the Republicans are as bad, if not worse, than the Democrats, at least in a lot of situations. Um, you can't trust them. They don't have your back. They're not going to have your back. They're not going to have Trump's back. Um, and the more people like my dad who stop watching Fox News and start following, anonymous Twitter accounts like I do.
Newsmax. Go to
Yeah.
Newsmax.
Yeah, or something. Anything.
Newsmax
Yeah.
right now is blowing up, dude. They're
Yeah.
blowing up.
Um, the more people that stop watching Fox News and start, following people, some of these more like dissident right accounts or whatever podcasts and stuff, that's going to be better, really, in the long run. But again, that's gonna be some growing pains.
I'm really big into like the middle of the road type people and then people extrapolating from there. But if you want to go more extreme, that's fine. I always recommend Tim Pool, not because I agree with him on everything. And I know people hate Tim Pool for all kinds of dumb reasons and um whatever, but Tim is a great news aggregate, guys.
Yeah, he's solid.
I mean,
as far as just like getting information to you,
yeah,
Tim Pool's really good.
and he is within the system. I like Stick Sexenhammer because I think he's a good analyst.
Yeah.
I'll watch Crowder on occasion. I don't think Crowder's that great, honestly. But he's funny.
I listened to him last night. Actually, it's not that he's bad per se. It's just that he doesn't really stray outside the box very much. And a lot of times I like to hear, I like to hear some guys that that's the reason why I stopped listening to Ben Shapiro like years ago.
Me too. Well,
yeah.
I got really tired of been chilling for Jews, man.
Well, that's a lot, yeah.
Like, dude, like I get it. You're Jewish, and your wife's a doctor.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. And you're a smart dude, and I like one of the things Ben is best when he's giving speeches and he's dissecting libs. Other than that, not good.
Yeah.
Andrew Klavan's kind of okay. I used to kind of watch him pretty often. Michael Knowles I like, but don't agree with his Catholic stuff. That's probably why we don't get any subscribers because I'm always crapping on Catholics. But Guys, seriously, that you're in the wrong church. The papacy is not biblical. Like, move on, right? I'm not Eastern Orthodox, but go Orthodox. They're based as hell. I mean, in any case, um, yeah, there's the Daily Wire's okay.
Yeah,
They're
you know,
they're not the worst, but I don't really
yeah,
watch them. You know,
yeah, n-
and Ben's one of these guys who's been kind of counting Trump out.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna beat his ass when I see him. Um, but you hear, you
I
hear
think
that?
Vincent James is pretty good, and he's only on D Live now. But
Who?
Vincent James,
Oh
the
yeah,
Red
yeah, yeah,
Elephant,
yeah.
yeah, he gets a little bit more racial than I'd like, but whatever. I mean,
I listened to a podcast. It's not really for news. It's more for various historiographical and stuff. But it's called The Myth of the 20th Century. It's pretty good. That's one I would recommend. Bronze Age Pervert has a pretty good podcast. He does it once a week. Of course, I'm getting into the very, you
who's
know,
that?
Bronze Age Pervert. Bro, let me.
I don't know. I don't know.
So I'm
This is why Tank and I meshed because he's into this weird stuff.
so
But as long as you're not in the pegging tank, we'll be okay.
no. So this guy, I'm giving myself away as like a Twitter shit poster now, but he wrote a book called Bronze Age Mindset, which is people should check out. It's pretty cool. But he he's a very mysterious dude. I'm just gonna say that. I don't want to give too much away, but if anyone's interested, he's got a podcast called Caribbean Rhythms that's pretty interesting. If you want to check it out.
Well, yeah. Anyways, I mean, that was a few names. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's all kinds of people that I watch on the regular. People I cycle through. I don't watch all the time. Um, you know, generally though, just alternative media.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
I think
Yeah.
Tucker's decent. I'm not like a big shill for Tucker as far as Fox News goes, but I think he's decent because he does call out things that other people won't.
Hmm.
Or talks about relative cultural things. I do, based on what he says on his show, believe that Tucker is to some degree an elitist.
Well, yeah.
But he believes that's just
Hey,
how the system works. You know,
well, so funny story. There's a leftist, an actual Marxist, by the name of Amy Therese on Twitter, who's actually got some pretty good takes. Um, but she's like Tucker is better than AOC. He's like, even though he comes from the Swanson dinner family, whatever, but even though he's an elite, he's got the working class in mind more so than any of these people on the left, which is really interesting thing to hear from someone who's like an outspoken leftist.
did
Um,
Tucker get praised Elizabeth Warren when he was talking
yeah,
about tech censorship? She was talking about tech censorship
yeah,
stuff back in the day. Like Tucker does good stuff as far as a
yeah.
network personality and is way better than O'Reilly ever. Like
Oh yeah.
Bill
Oh God,
O'Reilly,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, when I was like, 15, he was cool, and then he just drove me nuts. Um, cut his mic. I don't like what he said. Cut his mic. No, just the way it's gonna. It's like, dude, you're just shilling for big government, and you're trying to
yeah,
pretend like you're not.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there are lots of people out there to listen to. I'm not telling you who you should, who you shouldn't. We do obviously this show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. here on D
You
Live.
can listen to us.
Yeah, the
Bullshit.
ins underscore justify underscore memes. We do this hopefully soon as well on YouTube live.
Yeah.
But for now, we have replays at the ends justify the memes. I have my own channel where I got a couple different segments. I've been working on it, guys. We've only been at this since, well, me personally, I think since the end of June. Tank and I kind of hooked up a little bit after that. But I have a channel called All Minus One, based on John Stuart Mill's essay. Yeah, that's number 3. Thank you, Tank. John Stuart Mill's essay on liberty. It's a section of that essay, All Minus One. Um, that I have some shorter form content. A lot of it's long form, hour long, go through various articles. Just give you my opinion, like kind of like I am now. I don't do it live, although I've been thinking about doing live streams, but I do. I basically record, no script, nothing. I'm just like, here it is. So, so there's that, and if you want to follow Tank anywhere, he's on OnlyFans, and
Mm,
you can see his butthole,
mm.
but only if you pay the maximum amount,
Yeah.
right?
And the maximum amount is $5.99 a month. You will get multiple close up pictures of my butthole. It's a
All right.
I feel like it's a pretty premium butthole, so I think you're getting a deal at $5.99 a month. But you be the judge.
Yeah, but in any case, guys, I did all that just to throw it in there because we do try and start at 7 p.m. every Wednesday night. That is 7 p.m. Eastern and end by 9. So I appreciate you guys for watching all this. It says Bill is a fraud. I screw you, chat.
I think he means Bill O'Reilly because that's what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. I'm Bill too. So let's clarify here. I appreciate you telling us we had a good show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for everyone hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been weird lately because we did have viewers before, and then we just kind of no viewers on the live show. But hey, it is what it is because we are starting off, and we're gonna keep going, guys. It takes a while to build an audience, so tell your friends, share this stuff, and realize that you know this fight doesn't end. It doesn't end if Trump's out of office or not, and we're gonna carry it on. So, with all that, this has been the ends justify the memes. And remember, the ends always justify those memes. Play that outro, Tank.
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position.